champion, Steve Vadney. Hi, everybody. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and welcome to Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Sandy's in Wyndham. And we start a brand new series today with our returning champion, Steve Vadney.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. This is a second ladder we've had when we changed the format with the defending champ coming back, and it didn't work out too well for Clarence Davis. He got beat right off, but Steve's going to see if he can change that with picking up his second win.
All right, let's meet our two bowlers for this afternoon's show. First of all, our challenger, who had to roll an extra string just to get here, Rod Jarvis, who's the number 5 seed.
Yeah, Rod carries an average of 120. He's representing Londonderry Bowling Center, and he's been on our show before, so he's no stranger to the lights. But he's going to have to bowl a big score, I think, against Steve.
Rod was tied at the end of the 5-string regulation roll-off and had to go an extra string just to get to the show as he beat Jim Woodson in an extra string by a score of 125 to 118, the 6th string necessary when the two bowlers tied after 5. We've already mentioned our defending champion. Let's get a look at him in slow motion now, Steve Vadney, a winner last week.
Steve topped the 400 mark against a fellow from Exeter, Johnny Waller. So we know he can throw the big scores. He's been on our show many times, so yeah, he's going to be tough.
Altogether, this will be Steve's 6th appearance on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. He's won 3 and lost 2. And it's very simple. When he throws 400, he's been able to be a winner. We'll go over all the past scores of both of these bowlers a little bit later on in the show. Also later on, our home jackpot worth $40 this week. Much more to come on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We'll be back with the first string of our match right after these messages. Don't go away. We now return our ladder champion at the end of each ladder series, and let's get a look at where we are in this particular ladder right now as we have our returning champion Steve Vadney coming with us, and we'll get a chance to look ahead and see what's coming in the weeks ahead. Rod Jarvis, our challenger this week, finishing 5th in the roll-off again after that extra string with Jim Woodson at 649. And you see in the weeks ahead, John Levy will be here, Jack Ray, Bob Moran, and Bob Mazer is our number 1 seed with only 1 pin separating the top 2 bowlers. But right now, Rod Jarvis is set to get us started on lane 32, and we're set to begin. Rod was here once before, as Dan mentioned, and it was way back in the very first ladder series that we had here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Way back on May 20th, 1984, Rod lost to Rich Dion 374 to 354. So it's been about a year and a half in between appearances for Rod, so I'm sure he's looking forward to it, and he's got a spare to start.
Looked like he hit it pretty good when the ball first went down, but he needed some sidewall action from the left sidewall to come across and clear that 10 out. Rich Dion, that's first ladder. He went all the way, won every match.
That's right.
Where is he today, I wonder? Rich, are you listening? Let us know.
In the Stars and Strikes Hall of Fame. I remember when we came on, we figured, well, it's going to be really tough for somebody to come all the way from that first match to win the ladder, and first time through, it happened. 2 spares to start for Rod Jarvis.
Picks up the 610, piece of wood in front, no problem for him. Spare 8 spare. Nice way to start the match.
And now here's our returning champion, Steve Vadney, from Claremont. This is Steve's 6th appearance on the program, as I mentioned. His first appearance was May 6th, 1984.
Oh, no luck. 4 horsemen plus the 9. And left the 9 standing.
And in that first appearance on May 6th of 84, Steve Vadney lost to Rich Dion by a score of 367 to 350. That was in that very same ladder. And the next time he was with us, Steve was on for 3 weeks. He beat Dick Lacerte and Jim Thibodeau before losing to Bob Kelly. And then, of course, last week he beat John Waller with a 407. And it's basically been very simple. The 5 times that Steve Vadney has been with us, he's 3 and 2. The 3 times that he has rolled 400, he's won. And the other 2 times he has not.
Nice try. They had the 710. Tried to cap the wood, and he did. Cleared the 10 out, but left the 7.
A 19 pair for Steve. Carol Downey keeping score on the big scoreboard for us as always.
Oh, another good Good-looking ball.
Beautiful ball.
1-3 pocket. Clears 9 quick ones out of there, and then he trips the 4. 3/4 on the head pin. Nice ball, nice strike. One, 2, 4, and 8. Trying to split the 1 and the 2. Just like that.
Yes.
And 4 in a row. 2 spares, strike, and another spare.
That's a tough shot, too. A lot tougher than it looks. Both of these guys throw nice and easy.
Yeah, it's a good example of speed is not everything in this game. Accuracy still stands to be number 1.
And so far, Steve Vadney has had a little problem with his accuracy.
Just slid by the head pin that time. Need to cover the head pin for the spare. Still looking for his first mark, and finds himself after 3 boxes 29 pins behind, and looking at another mark for Rod Jarvis in the 4th.
A little full, but he'll take it.
Extremely full, but Steve's got that kind of type of ball. Gets a lot of action on that ball. He's a little full in the head pin, but he gets the strike.
With that little kick off the wall on the 10 pin. But Rod Jarvis is really throwing the ball well.
9 pin fill on the spare. 677 after 4 boxes. And here looks good. And if he's going to miss it, you should like to miss it to the left. You'll have that wood as a guide. That's what he's doing. Oh, he went too high in the wood.
Rod thought he had it.
I did too. I thought the angle of the wood, if he missed it to the left, he'd still carry it, but the ball flew up and over the 5 pin. Well, his streak is broken. Got a good chance of starting another streak. Here he's got the diamond. A nice piece of wood in behind the 4 and the 4 and the 5. 2, 4, 5, and 8.
Yes.
Makes it a lot easier, that diamond, with that piece of wood in between.
Steve Vadney now working on a strike in the 4th.
A little light this time. Gives himself 2, 4, and 10. And he's got a tough piece of wood behind the 2. I was saying I try to go by the 2 pin and hit the wood. Almost had to miss that 2 pin, snap the wood, which would swung around and carried the 2, and then it would have went over toward the 10 pin. Tough shot, though. Bad angle in the wood.
It's a 9 box and a 30 pin deficit after 5 frames. That's going to be pretty discouraging.
Long ways to go, but much rather be 30 ahead than 30 behind. Another full hit for Steve, and he gets another strike.
Same ball.
Right. Same lane, 31. He's coming in light on 32. On 31, he's coming heavy, but he's still carrying the strikes.
Rod Jarvis is on a spare here in the 6th. He has not left a pin standing yet. He's only had 1 open frame. And now he'll have to try the diamond without the wood.
Without the wood. Opposite side this time. 3, 5, 6, and 9. Tough shot. You usually get 3 of them. You usually leave the sleeper in the back, or you go heavy and chop out the front 2. And that time you missed the object pin, the 3 altogether.
Rod and his wife Pat live in Manchester. Rod works for Dysegren Industries in Manchester. And that's the first real bad first ball he's thrown.
That's right. It's the first time I can remember him missing the head pin. He's either going to try to split the 1-2 or go to the right of the head pin, have the ball go down and get the 6 and the 10, like that.
What a shot.
Nice shot.
That was one of those shots you could tell all the way down that it was just going to go.
It goes to the right of the head pin, and the ball deflects off the head pin to carry the 6 and the 10, and then the 1 into the 2 into the 8 for the spare. Nice shot.
Steve Vadney working on another strike, trying to string something together, and he'll have a double.
It's the beauty about those strikes. He'll go from 30 pins down, and he'll be right back into the match now if he can get a halfway decent fill on this. Here you see the double strike. Here he goes for 3. Looks good, too.
6-10. Well, that'll catch you up in a hurry.
It certainly will.
And a spare on top of it, and all of a sudden, the lead is only 7. So just like that, the quick double strike, and Steve Vadney is right back in it.
Yeah, those strikes, they mount up fast. And Steve has had 4 marks, 3 of them being strikes.
Big 9 drop for Rod Jarvis. That is on a mark in the 8th.
Well, should shoot just like the wood isn't there. Should have any problem with this. Keeps it on the lane.
7 marks in this string for Rod Jarvis so far.
141 in the 9th plus a ball. Oh, he's off the head pin that time. He's going to get a break, though. Not too bad. 1, 2, 4, and 10. And we'll see if this wood's going to be any help to him. Well, he's got to shoot just like the 10 pin wasn't there. It's got to be on the head pin, right or left. Try to split the 1, 2, or go to the right of the head pin. And the wood should help. No, he's off target.
It'll be a 150 game, though, for Rod Jarvis. 157. And Steve Vadney is going to be right there with him if he can get another mark in these last 2 boxes.
Oh, he's glad to see that 6-pin go. 2-4, 8 fill on the spare, 2-4 left for the spare.
Yes.
You know what's going to happen here? He has a decent fill and another spare, and Rod Jarvis is going to throw a 157, and he might lose. 133 and a ball.
Full again. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. It'll be an 8 drop.
Got a nice break on that one, too. Again, he was full on lane 31. But he's able to leave himself a legitimate spare lead in the 2-4.
Got it.
151 and a ball.
Just your average run-of-the-mill 150 games here on Stars and Strikes. 2 of them.
6 to a tie. Anything more than 6, or he'll take the lead in the first game.
And he'll come up 1 pin short. So after all that, in string number 1, just 1 pin separates the 2 bowlers. Outstanding strings for both, and a round of applause from the crowd here at Sandy's. Well deserved. For Rod Jarvis, a 157. For Steve Vadney, a 156. We'll be back and tell you how you can win some money in our home contest right after these messages. Don't go away. Champion set to start it off here in string number 2.
Well, these guys can show us anything more after the first game, but I guess Steve answered that question. Starts off with another strike.
And again, right, it's full on the head pin.
Right. Well, we've talked a number of times about high-scoring houses. This is a high-scoring house, and there's one of the reasons why. You can get away with a full hit now and then here, and consequently we have those big scores. But the conditions are the same for each bowler, and they're almost identical the first game, 157, 156. Fantastic start by the bowlers.
Got to make you feel pretty good, too, when you drop down by 30 pins on the first 5 boxes and you're able to make it all up but 1.
Yeah, Steve's bowled enough times here now that he realized that so you can hit big scores here, and those strikes will come. 30 pins down, he throws a double strike, and he's right back in the match. 5 5-pin for the spare. Wants to be careful not to cap that piece of wood. Oh, he does, and still carries it. Sigh of relief on Rod's face as he turns around.
Rod's 8th mark. Rod Jarvis and Jim Woodsum, who's also been with us before, tied after 5 strings of the roll-off, which was held at the Londonderry Bowling Center, by the way. And their scores were 649 after the 5 strings, so they had to roll an extra string. And in that extra string, Rod beat Jim with a score of 125 to 118, and so that's why Rod is here.
Oh, no luck. Had the 3, 5, 6, 9, and 10, cleared everything out but the 9-pin. And he needs this, so we'll have a tie match.
Good example, too, of why it's so tough to get here, because you roll 5 strings in that preliminary roll-off, and then 5 more strings in the final. Then, in the case of Rod and Jim, you find yourself tied, and it all comes down to 1 string.
Well, Steve didn't get away with a full hit there. There's the dreaded spread eagle. 3, 6, 10, 2, 4, and 7 on the left. It's difficult to get on, but we see a lot of new faces coming up all the time.
Well, it's something that is worth pointing out once in a while, too, which is something that is, I guess, the most often asked question about the show, and that is, how do you get on the show? And the answer to that is that anyone who qualifies can get on the show. You do not have to be a member of the WCBC, the Pro Bowlers Tour, or the Amateur Tour, although we have had many of those bowlers on, certainly, but you do not have to be a member of either tour in order to qualify. All you have to do is find out from your local lanes when your preliminary roll-off is going to be. You finish in the top 5 of that, then you move on to the final roll-off, and if you finish in the top 5 of the final roll-off, you end up here on the show.
Oh, another solid 9-pin drop for Rod. And while you mentioned that, Doug, it's anyone, all you have to do is contact your nearest New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association center, and they'll give you information. In fact, as we tape, there will be another roll-off coming up within the next few weeks, so after you get through watching the show, call your nearest NHCBA house.
That's right. We should mention that all of the preliminary roll-offs for the show are held in New Hampshire. But that certainly doesn't mean that if you're watching us from Massachusetts or Maine or wherever, that you are not eligible. You just have to contact the nearest New Hampshire bowling house to you and find out when their roll-off is going to be. In fact, over this next 5 or 6 week period, we're going to be seeing several more bowlers from Massachusetts, and we've had many of those, and also from Maine as well. 2 more marks for Rod Jarvis, 44, and a spare up in the 4th. Steve Vadney at 33 with a mark up in the 4th as the pace continues here on Stars and Strikes, and we'll be back. Don't go away. Spare in the 4th. Before we go any farther, we should clarify one other point about qualifying for the show, too.
Right. There is the New Palace Lanes in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, have joined the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. So they are a member of the New Hampshire group. So there will be preliminary roll-offs held there as well. So if you live in the Fitchburg area, call the New Palace Lanes.
We get a lot of mail and calls from the Fitchburg, Leominster area, so folks down there will be interested to know that they can qualify down there as well. But basically, as we said, it's any bowling establishment that belongs to the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association, and every time we have a taping session, there are preliminary roll-offs all over the state, all over the area, I should say, and then the final roll-off, which leads to the bowlers who get here on the show.
Maybe later on the show I can run down a list of New Hampshire houses or the ones that belong to the... I try to do it by memory, but I'm sure I'd leave somebody out.
We happen to have a list here, Dan, so you'll be happy to know that.
Well, Steve slowed down a little considerably on the first game, 68 after 6. Rod 54 in the 4th with a spare up. he's back in the lead again.
And Rod Jarvis was hoping for something a little bit better on that ball, although this is makeable with the wood.
5-7. Sometimes people think the 5, 7, 10 are on the same plane. They're not. The 5 pin sits out front a little bit, so it can be cut over. But Rod certainly didn't want to go that far left.
He knew he missed it.
Yeah, he turned around as soon as he released the ball.
Well, Rod has again established a lead. It is now up to 15. Beautiful pocket hit that time.
15 and counting. Nice strike. 1-3 pocket. 10-pin, last one to go. Good extension, good follow-through. Steve Vadney, another one, a real student of the game. Watch his follow-through. You see that hand snap up over his head. And when that happens, it's usually, the ball usually ends up pretty close to his target pin.
Oh.
Much like Rod had those cluster of 5 on the right-hand side. Steve had him on the left and left the 8-pin. Rod has a chance to open up the lead a little more in this game. But remembers he had him by 30 the first game. And all Steve did was finish with 5 marks in a row.
Big strike for Steve Vadney again on lane 31.
No doubt about it.
Rod Jarvis working on a strike in the 6th.
One, 3, and 8.
Nope. Ten for Rod and an even 100 through 7.
Opposite strike, and he gets one of his own.
Take that.
Again, he's got that left-hand lane nailed down pretty well. 2 strikes the last 2 times up on that lane.
Steve Vadney has a double. Again.
Deja vu of the first game. Again, 1-3 pocket for Steve. Steve ball backs up a little bit, breaks a little bit from left to right. Sometimes off target a little bit.
That's going to bring him back, though, from another mounting deficit.
Yes, depending on what Rod does, he's still working on a strike, but again, Steve's going to bail out the string to be almost 130. He's got 18 now, 118 now with 1 ball left here.
And Steve, through 2 strings, has 4 spares and 6 strikes. And he'll wrap it up with a 9 box and a 127 for a 2-string total 283, which is not too shabby, but it may not.
The Astro Bowl in White River Junction, Vermont. So we have some from Vermont.
Another out-of-state one.
Right.
We forgot.
We have the B&L Bowl in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, Botwell's Bowling Center in Concord, Bowlemore Lanes in Milford, Bowlerama in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Bowlaway Lanes in Rochester, Bowling Acres in Peterborough, Bowling Center in Dover, Exeter Bowling Lanes in Exeter, New Hampshire, the Friendship Lanes in Newmarket, Kings Lanes in Manchester, Lakeside Lanes in Manchester, Lakeview Lanes in Holderness, New Hampshire, the Leader Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, of course the Londonderry Bowling Center in Londonderry, the New Palace Lanes, as I mentioned, in Fitchburg. Rounding it out is Sandy's, right here where we do our taping, in Wyndham, Sunset Lanes in Newport, New Hampshire, and the Woodstock Recreational Center in Woodstock, Vermont. So we do have a few out-of-staters.
Spare for Rod Jarvis in the 10th. And that will increase his lead as we move into the 3rd and final string. That's 13 marks for Rod Jarvis now.
135 and a ball.
It's going to be up around 300 for 2. A little bit short, though. He'll take a 140 in the second string, and a 2-string total, 297. So as the totals go up, they'll show Rod Jarvis with a 14-pin advantage as we go into the third and final string here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, and we will be back with it right after we have these messages. Ready to go? And there's the story.
14 pins. That usually means that Steve is going to need 2 more marks more than Rod does.
The 1, 2, and 7 with wood.
Both bowlers got a chance of going over 400.
Winner of this match moves on to face our number 4 seed in this series, John Levy of North Reading, Mass, next week.
Very important to Rod to put that first mark up, give Steve something to think about.
For a moment, that looked like it was going to be a very light hit.
And ends up leaving himself to 4 and 7.
He's waiting for a piece of wood to settle, and it looks like it's going to stop right there.
I wouldn't want to see him cap that wood. He might go by the 7-pin. Nah, he's right on the pins. Nice shot.
Spare number 11 for Rod. He has 14 marks overall. It isn't very often that this late in the match you would have a bowler with more strikes than spares, but that's what Steve Vadney has right now. He has 6 strikes and only 4 spares.
At this point, he'll take anything, strike or spare, as long as it's a mark.
Actually, it is the strikes that have really kept him in the match. If it weren't for the 2 doubles.
Right, you're absolutely right, Doug. He'd be 40, 50 pins behind, probably. Well, he's can cut into the deficit right here because he's opposite a 10 box. Although Rod does have a mark, as you see there in the second box.
Steve lost that one a little bit to the right, but he'll take the 8 fill.
Not too bad. 1, 2, 8 pins. Deficit is 6. He wants to get this mark to match Rod's. Very good.
That's going to tighten it up. And Rod goes right through the middle. Could have been a spread eagle, but the 6 and 10 kick out.
It'll be interesting to see what he does here. Like, he tries to split the 2 and the 4, or he plays the 3-pin with the wood. Have the wood come off the wall. Now he's electing to go the other side. Whoa, look at this.
Yes. Wow. Sure you play it that way.
Sure. Gets a real good break here off the sidewall. Just hit that pin enough to roll it forward and carry the 3-pin. Remember that one.
It was the 4-pin that came off the wall to take out the 3.
4 horsemen right plus the 7-pin. More important is to keep marking. Outside, nice try. Just leaves the 10-pin.
And Rod will be at 51 through 4. Now Steve Vadney is even in marks with Rod in this string already. And with Rod open in the 4th, Steve has an opening here to possibly take the lead. But not that way.
Full hit, 4 horsemen. And he loses a couple on count. He was opposite a spare 6. Oh, nice try. Split the 2-4, carried the 10, left the 3-6.
We have seen the spread eagle made.
It's awful pretty when you see it go.
That makes it even in this string, which means the lead is still 14 for Rod Jarvis. But Steve, of course, working opposite the open frame.
Full again. He's not carrying that extra pin like he did the first couple games on those full hits. Tough shot here. 2, 4, 7 with the 3, with a 6. Piece of wood in front of the 2. He's going to have to play that. Sidewall. No. 6 pin was the problem pin. Needs a 10 here to stay even in this game and 14 pins behind the match.
And that's exactly what happens. We are through 4. Even in this string at 51. And the lead for Rod Jarvis remains 14 pins. Still in doubt as we move to the final 6 boxes, which we'll have right after we have these messages. In the 5th box, 3rd and deciding string has a lead of 14.
Rod seems to be pulling the ball across his body a little bit now, pulling the ball to the left. He's not getting a good follow through out in front of him like he was earlier.
Four horsemen right. 1, 3, 6, 10.
Ooh, leaves a 10.
Rod waiting again for the wood. Every pin critical now, of course. He'll be hoping, of course, to just get a clear shot at the 10. That's all he wants, and it looks like he'll get it.
Just slid off on him.
Sometimes when you wait, that can make it tougher, especially on a single.
Well, you can't give Steve too many openings like this. He wants to get back into the mark call. Again, he misses the head pin. This time he's four horsemen minus one of them. One of them rode off again. 6 pin rode off into the sunset here. 1, 3, and 10. More important, needs to get the mark.
Missing.
Now he hasn't got the spare, but he doesn't want to. He'd rather have the 10 box, 9 10s, and keep that lead up over 10 pins. That way, Steve would have to double mark to catch him.
Well, here's an opening for Steve Vadney. Just 17 pins for Rod Jarvis. Steve trails by 14. He'll have a 4-pin. The question is, will he have a shot at it?
Well, it's looking better and better. He's going to have a clear shot before the wood was out in front. For the spare. Steve's a tough little bowler. Can't keep giving him openings.
Steve has kind of an inside-out delivery with that right hand.
Right. It's a little different than a normal right-hander would throw. Ball backs up just a little bit. Good-looking ball there. Gets this, and he'll have a chance to grab the lead in the match.
Yes.
If my addition's right, he's 2 pins down, but he'll have that mark to work on when he gets up next time.
This is going to go right down to the finish.
Well, these last few boxes, Rod seemed to be pulling the ball to the left. See if he gets that arm out in front of him a little more. No, he continues to do the same thing.
Two and 6 are left. Went for the cut shot and takes an 8.
Well, he knows the situation now. He's got 3 boxes left, and he knows he better start marking right now. Well, continues to miss the head pin here. He's leaving himself the 4 horsemen again. 1, 3, 6, and 10. The last few boxes seem like he's lost all rhythm. Really pulling the ball to the left. Again, again. Oh, he just caught the head pin.
All the wood on the deck helped that time.
Right, I thought he was going to go by. The head pin went right to the sidewall, came back, split the 3 and the 6, and carried the 10 as well for the spare. Big mark.
Both bowlers taking a second to check the scoreboard and see exactly where we are. This is very, very close. Steve Vadney is going to assume the lead, at least for the moment, with the fill on this spare. Carol Downey taking care of some loose wood.
Okay, anything over 2, he'll take the lead in the match.
Right through the middle.
Well, he wants that wood to come back. That's got possibilities now. Now you split the 2 and the 4, or beyond, heavy on the 2. The wood's going to kick forward for the 3. Problems are the 4 and the 7. Nice shot.
Beautifully done.
Nice shot. Splits the 2 and the 4. He's really heavy in the 2. Ball domino effect down for the 4 and the 7. Wood kick forward to get the 3. More important, he was opposite an 8 box.
And we have another loose piece of wood that has to be taken care of on lane 32. Carol getting plenty of exercise today.
So Steve now has the lead by 6 plus the fill on the spare. And now the situation is in Steve's favor of getting at least 4, getting the lead up to double figures, and make Rod throw at least another mark. Where Steve's thinking marks all the way.
Pocket hit. Well, not a very good result.
2 and a 6. Well, you get possibilities coming now. With that piece of wood frozen, the ball will go. If he cuts it on the left, the ball will fly over to the right. Now, whether he can cover the 6s, we'll see.
Oh!
Do you believe that?
In front of it and behind it.
Behind it. Oh, what a shot. Game of inches. You saw it. Flipped it in front of the 6, hit the sidewall, came back in back of the 6, never touched it.
Well, that leaves a little opening here for Rod Jarvis, who, remember, is working on a fill of a spare here in the 8th.
He's 13 pins down, minus this ball. Again, he pulls it way to the left. Only a 3.
So the lead is 10 for Steve Vadney right now.
He is 10, and Rod is going to have to put a mark up here. Otherwise, Steve is going to have to. He's going to be able to pin out. Big box. It's not going to be an easy one. Going to try to split the 3 and the 6. Nice shot.
Beautiful try by Rod Jarvis. He'll have his 400 triple, but it apparently is not going to be good enough. He'll finish with a 404. Steve Vadney needs just 9 pins in these last 2 boxes to win it.
Good match, but Rod just couldn't get the marks down the stretch when he needed them.
And there's the story. Steve Vadney with his 7th strike of the day. There's a perfect example. The double strikes that he had in each of the first 2 strings kept him in the match, and then he finally started hitting spares here in the 3rd.
He never gave up, just kept plugging along. And of course, Rod knew the first game he's up by 30 one time, and Steve came back at him. He knew he had a tiger by the tail here, and just wasn't able to answer the call that 3rd string. There's another strike. 9 3/4.
Should have been.
Rocking 5-pin. All instrumental now. He's won the match and was the first one to defend his title successfully in the new format where we carry over the champion now. And Steve will be back next week against John LeVay. And he's going to have a fantastic triple here. 143 in a ball.
Going to be up over 430, it appears, as he will finish up with a 148 and an outstanding triple of 431. 431 for Steve Vadney. 404 for Rod Jarvis. A good match. Steve Vadney getting hot in the third string when he needed it, and it was enough to win it. We'll be back to talk to both bowlers and see if we can't give away some money in our home contest right after these messages.